Today's episode is Shindig. Why are we doing things out of order? I guess I must be possessed by the spirit of a Fox executive. The episode opens at some dive bar with a temperamental hollow pool table, so the management has to leave a sign up telling you that they're not responsible for what happens to your balls. Mal and Jane seem to be fitting right in, but as always, Mal is a smuggler, crook, uncouth lowlife, but he has his principles, so he picks the pocket of a slave trader, which leads to a brawl. Luckily, Jane's got his back with a pool cue, because the thing about Jane is, if you put something dangerous in his hands, he can somehow make it look even more dangerous. It'll be hard to top that kind of shindig, but someone's going to have to try. Inara gets a call from a local dandy named Atherton Wing of the Who Gives a Shit Wings. He wants Inara for several days, including attending the social events of the season. Mal has an odd relationship with her. There's clear unresolved tension there, and that might explain why he's insistent on implying or just flat out calling her a whore.
It sounds like the finest party I can imagine getting paid to go to.
Yeah, he's really trying to cover it up, but it gets more obvious when they land on Persephone, and everyone admires the dresses and or the women who are modeling them, and Kaylee just can't stop going on about how much she wishes she could wear something like that.
Nora gets to wear whatever she wants.
What are you going to do in that rig? Bounce around the engine room? You're like a sheep walking on its hind legs.
Yeah, too far, Mal. Picking on Kaylee, it's like punching Fluttershy. It's just plain wrong. Karma then shows up in the form of a small man in a bowler hat. Badger. Hey, it's Mark Shepard, right? A great chance to talk about this performer in a rare appearance.
Don't let your pride get in the way. Put your innocence on record for the fleet. You're staying.
I won't do a statement.
In a work of science fiction.
Are you taking care of this?
So he might not seem familiar.
Time to call 911.
Okay, I lied. He's practically in every show I cover except for Star Trek.
Since the Borg first attacked us, we've taken great pains to hide whatever new technology we develop.
Okay, I lied again. He wants to set up a smuggling job with Mal for some local bigwig who won't deal with Badger directly just because he's a scum of creation. But he might take a shine to Mal.
Had a problem with your attitude, is why. I felt you was... what's the word?
Pretentious?
Exactly.
Ah, Gene's a lot smarter than he looks. I suppose that would be necessary to remember to breathe. To get him with the client, Mal's going to have to go to the same party Inara's going to be at with Atherton Von Doucheweasel, so it's time to get Kaylee that dress she wanted so she can now wow everyone with her impression of a Rose Bowl float. I can say that kind of thing because I'm talking about the dress and not Kaylee. As expected, she can't keep her common clay hidden, but that's not the point. She just feels like looking pretty and having a good time, and why the hell not? Alright, because a party like this always means the insufferable are going to be about. The nice thing about being an unmarried aristocrat is that you can act like you're still in high school, looking down on others all the time. Ain't that great?
It's not as good as last year.
Oh, really? What they have last year?
Standards.
Well, if proper breeding is so important to you, I suggest you go fuck yourself. God save me from these twits.
You must have taken a dozen slaves a dozen days to get you into that getup. Of course, your daddy tells me it takes the space of a schoolboy's wink to get you out of it again.
If you're God, I thoroughly approve. She soon finds herself at the center of attention, simply for being herself. The men seem to find that a refreshing break from the usual collection of stuck-up sorority girls. Back on Serenity, as the guys play poker for chores, River has a meltdown over products with the Blue Sun logo. Sure hope she doesn't see my card at the end of the review. It's not relevant to the episode, but it plays into her larger character arc, so let's just move on. Mal's pursuing his character arc, and by character arc, I of course mean Inara's ass. Even after tracking down the client and trying to win him over for the smuggling job, Mal's attention keeps getting drawn away to her. Assleton just comes right over, completely oblivious to Mal until Inara introduces him. Now the scene at the beginning helped to establish that even in his own element, Mal has this habit of doing something wrong because he feels an even greater wrong has happened. And he can already see similar thoughts are rattling around in his head in the way that Atherton grabs Inara on the official "you are now mine" spot that every woman apparently has. He plays it smooth by asking for a dance. From Inara, not Atherton. The chemistry between our two characters is volatile enough not to need anything else thrown in.
I'm liable to sleep with him myself.
Oh boy, I'm going to need to break out the PowerPoint if this relationship gets any more convoluted. Atherton finally storms over and tries to yank her away, going too far in Mal's book.
Yours. She don't belong to nobody.
How dare you employ a double negative at me? As he's about to call Inara a whore, Mal lays him out. Big mistake. Seems that in this place, when you try to throw down, you actually throw down the gauntlet. They will duel with swords at sunrise. Even in a show I thought as far from Star Trek as possible and still have spaceships, we get the cheesy Star Trek plot. Chiseled hero arrives on planet and winds up engaged in ritualistic battle to the death. And no one is going to be transporting someone back at the last second and reviving the dead, that's for sure. Or showing up and stunning everyone into unconsciousness. The only weapon any of them has that has a stun setting is Jane's pool cue.
Wing may be a spoiled dandy, but he's an expert swordsman. He's killed a dozen men with a long blade.
Mal's going to be kept locked up for the night to ensure he doesn't sneak away, and Badger heads back to Serenity to make sure they don't try to rescue him, since Badger can't very well have them fly in and screw everything up right where he's settled. It'd ruin his business. But Inara shows up where Mal is with a plan that all companions know about. If all else fails, you can always use the back door. You know, in case you need to run away. Mal refuses, so instead the option is a crash course in swordsmanship with Inara as his teacher. You know, she knows all the civilized stuff, and nothing is a sign of civility quite like dueling with swords, because it's something lethal to appeal to our base instincts, yet covers this up by requiring you to fight in the most idiotic manner possible. Now, I'm not insulting fencing, don't think that. That's a highly skilled sport. Using it for a duel like this, though, is probably loved because it takes such skill to master, so that most people wouldn't really bother with it, because actually they have shit to do. So if they ever did want to learn how to kill somebody, they'd go with something more practical. Using fencing to kill with real swords uses the kind of logic that would have you play Battleship with real boats and ammunition. The old guides even required you to show your bare chest to ensure that you weren't cheating by, wearing something that would prevent you from being stabbed to death. Like people would dress if they were going up against swords in an actual fight. Or perhaps carrying a shield. Because, hey, that's considered unsporting, and unsporting is the upper crust word for pussy. Which unwittingly leads us back to...
You know that? They teach you that in Horror Academy?
The unresolved sexual tension. Inara even points out how stupid it is that they're here because Mal got bent out of shape at it being implied she was a whore, but he'll just come right out and say it. But Mal tries to deflect it, saying he doesn't respect her job, but he respects her. I think what it really is that he's jealous that she's sleeping with other men, so he blurts out this stupid crap. And stupid crap, of course, leads us back to Serenity, where the gang's being held prisoner by Badger and thus need to plot their escape.
What we need's diversion. I say Zoe gets naked.
Nope.
That's ridiculous.
I could get naked?
Much better. What this plan needs is a wild card, so Rivers shows up. That's a problem because Rivers got a big bounty on her head by the Alliance, and Badger isn't as gentlemanly as his bowler hat implies. Luckily, Rivers starts acting just like he does until she gets bored with it and leaves, with Badger unaware of how much money he was just talking with.
That there. Exactly the kind of diversion we could have used.
Okay, time for the big duel, showing how civilized we are by killing each other with a weapon invented at the dawn of the Bronze Age. Take that, clubs! Well, since Inara is a skilled companion but not a small green backward-talking imp, Mal isn't transformed into a Jedi overnight, so he's wounded and then left helpless. What we really need now is a distraction.
I could get naked?
Or Inara could get his attention, allowing Mal to catch him off guard and disarm him. Everyone says he's supposed to kill Atherton, or else he'd be humiliated, but Mal says to have someone at their mercy and let them go is a sign of a great man.
Oh! Guess I'm just a good man. Oh! Well, I'm all right.
Atherton, of course, is incapable of taking this defeat with a shred of dignity, so he starts throwing threats against Inara's future as a companion, when in fact all he's done is ensure that he's going to wind up on the blacklist, along with the lights of evil Charlie Sheen clone and that guy from Grand Theft Auto 3. The client was so impressed with Mal that he decides to hire him for the smuggling job, but it's a job with a lot of bullshit involved. Yeah, told you. Shindig's alright. It has its moments, but overall, it's just kind of there. It's nice to see a lot of the characters letting their hair down, whether it's having sex, playing cards, whatever. Keely gets a little time to shine, the Mal and Inara relationship gets a look at, But in the end, it's just okay. It's mostly just a day in the life, which, aside of the punch and the duel, made it a pretty uneventful day. It was nice to get the return of Badger, who had appeared in the pilot and was an interesting character for our heroes to deal with. But I guess my opinion of the episode is that, had Firefly not ended prematurely, Shindig would probably be an episode people largely forgot about. Our next Firefly will be a chance to see how most of the crew got together in the first place.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
You didn't have to wound that man.
Yeah, I know. It was just funny.